Greg Ehrenberg here with Adam Scherer. It is the Tuesday edition of the NBA Injury Report. Do us a favor, guys. Like the video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. If anything changes over the course of the day, leave us a question in the comment section below. I'll be answering those later on in the day. And a quick note at the top here. I was telling Adam this before. I know LeBron James officially listed as questionable. I'm going to get an aneurysm if I talk about him being questionable every day because it's not real. He's getting listed as questionable every day. He's going to play. I'm not taking it seriously. So LeBron James, if anything changes, I guess I'll have to comment on that below, but he's going to play today. Should all be good. Here are the guys that actually are questionable to play today, starting with the Brooklyn Nets. Andre Drummond and Cam Thomas are both questionable. Kyrie Irving is out, which is going to be the case for home games or when they're playing in Toronto against the Raptors. So for the Nets tonight, Andre Drummond kind of dinged up his knee a little bit last night, took an awkward fall, went to the bench for a little bit, tried to come back, wasn't effective. They ultimately ended up playing him limited minutes. Adam, how do you see the front court minutes shaping up here if Drummond is not able to go today?
So I think it would solidify LaMarcus Aldridge's minutes, and at 4,500, it's pretty easy for him to look good. I would be curious, though, who starts in Drummond's place. I wouldn't be surprised at all if you actually saw Nick Claxton in the starting lineup and Aldridge, maintain his role off the bench. But I think that even in that situation, you would get, probably 22, 23 minutes from Aldridge, and it would make him look good. If he starts, 4K Claxton would certainly be viable as well. If LaMarcus Aldridge starts, I think you should take that as a sign that he's playing a ton of minutes because, I would just expect him to play starters minutes with Claxton as the backup, essentially.
Yeah, and Blake Griffin's another guy who could potentially start. So be on the lookout for the starting lineup there for the Nets because Claxton has not been in the rotation as of late. Griffin hasn't really been. Last few games, 6 minutes, was out of the rotation, then 9 minutes. So at least as of now, it does appear like he's maybe ahead of Claxton, but we'll see. Steve Nash has done wonky things with his rotation. Andre Drummond, I think we should also talk about. What do you make if he's in the lineup? Because yesterday, both you and I thought there was upside to him, and I don't necessarily think we were wrong because he didn't play well yesterday. He got hurt early on in the game. How would you view him today if he does end up back in the lineup?
I think he would still be a decent tournament option. I ended up actually getting the more Aldridge yesterday than Drummond, though, on DraftKings, and I think I would be in the same boat today. Like, if you just assume, if you project Drummond for 23 or 24 minutes that he's been averaging since joining the Nets, and you project Aldridge for 21 or 22 minutes at their respective price tags, and neither one getting much ownership, I actually think Aldridge ends up still looking a little bit better. But, if he is in the lineup, you can at least consider Drummond in tournaments because we know how high that ceiling is if he does happen to play 28 minutes.
Yeah, and on the other side of the game, the Toronto Raptors, once again, Fred VanVleet is listed as questionable, but I do view the VanVleet situation differently than LeBron's situation, even though he's been getting listed as questionable for a lot of these games, sometimes playing, sometimes not. It appears that he actually is dealing with an injury. He did not play last night. We saw Malachi Flynn start in his spot. The other wrinkle to the Raptors injury report, OG Anunoby is questionable today. After we got reports today of a fractured finger, it seemed like he was going to be out for an extended period of time. Maybe that isn't the case anymore, but who stands out the most as a value option from the Raptors if there is no Anunoby or VanVleet tonight?
Yeah, so I mean, if they're both out, then we're just looking at what we got last night where Malachi Flynn started. He played a lot. I think that's really important to note. And Delano Banton wasn't even in the rotation in the first half of that game. I wasn't sure exactly how to handle my projections yesterday because I didn't know if we were going to get, like 24 minutes from Flynn and Banton was going to play a role and they were going to give, more minutes to their bigs like Young and Boucher and stuff. Flynn played starters minutes and then some. So I think that if they're both out and Flynn is in the starting lineup, he just very clearly looks like a top value option. And then you would just get the normal, what we've been seeing when anybody is out. Achua probably playing 22 to 24 minutes, Young playing around 20 minutes, Boucher playing around 20 minutes. And, if VanVleet is out, you also get an uptick in assist percentage for Siakam, usage rate for Gary Trent. Typically, it hasn't had a huge impact on Scotty Barnes. He went absolutely nuts last night, though. So obviously, the potential is there. But I think it's basically that if VanVleet's out, Siakam and Trent are the guys that I expect to produce at a higher level.
And our injury report, as per usual, sponsored by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. If you guys have not signed up for Yahoo yet, you could do it using the link in the description box below. Using that link, head on over to Yahoo, make a deposit, enter a contest, get yourself 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. All right, smaller slate, Adam, so only a couple more injuries to talk about here. Next one, Kevin Porter Jr. and Garrison Matthews, both questionable to play for the Houston Rockets. This is a team without much NBA talent on it. So whenever you're taking somebody like Kevin Porter off the court, even though he hasn't played particularly well this year, he plays a big role for the Houston Rockets. And a lot of times we've seen Garrison Matthews step into the starting lineup and play an extended role when Porter Jr. has been hurt or limited. So if neither of these guys are available to play, who do you think steps up against the Clippers?
So I think Dennis Schroeder's the clear number one. He's played huge minutes when he has started in place of Porter. He's a good, fantasy producer. He gets plenty of opportunities on this team. So I think if Porter is out, Schroeder's the clear beneficiary. And I actually don't think that Porter's absence would really have too big of an impact on anyone else, because Schroeder is going to basically soak up the same rates that Kevin Porter Jr. vacates. So it's not the same as earlier in the year when Porter would be out and you're saying, oh, well, Jayshawn Tate's going to take on a bigger role, or Christian Wood's going to see a bump in usage. You're basically just replacing all of that with Schroeder. If they're both out, you could certainly see a bit more playing time for guys like Kenyon Martin Jr., Josh Christopher. I wouldn't be surprised if like Nwaba gets in the rotation or something like that to soak up some minutes as well.
All right, now let's bring it home. Final injury situation that they talk about. We have Klay Thompson officially ruled out. He's dealing with an illness. Monty Bjelica is questionable. That's not really that impactful, but just wanted to mention it because it's there on the injury report. Without Klay Thompson, we saw Moody start last game, but we've seen a lot of different iterations of what the Warriors do when guys are out. Moody could end up starting. We could also see extra playing time go to Kuminga, and maybe the Warriors play bigger. Is there anything in particular you have your eyes set on without Klay Thompson in the mix?
So Moody's 3K. He started and played like 25 or 26 minutes last game. He's not a very good fantasy producer, but it is a 6-game slate. If he starts, you could certainly, throw some darts at him. But I think that the other part of the starting lineup that like you want to pay attention to, typically this year, Jordan Poole's been the one getting the starts when Klay is out. Last game, they went to Moody. Poole only played like 20 minutes off the bench. If Moody starts here, I have a difficult time getting to Poole outside of just, basically praying that he ends up in the closing lineup and gets to like 26 minutes. But if he starts, he ends up looking like one of the better value options today at 5,200. So it is, I think, a pretty important starting the lineup to pay attention to. Similarly, I think it helps to solidify Gary Payton the second's minutes as long as he can avoid foul trouble. And you also get a usage bump for Steph Curry and Andrew Wiggins without Klay.
And a little bit of, I guess it's not even narrative here. It's just almost kind of common sense. But Poole sucked last game. He played off the bench 19 minutes. He went 0 of 7 from the field. So obviously he missed all his 3-point attempts, also 0 for 4. I have to think if he was making his shots, he would have just got an extended run. And I don't think there's any reason to think that this time with Klay Thompson out is that much different than him missing almost the first half of the season as he came back from his torn ACL and torn Achilles. So I actually do like Jordan Poole here as a GPP option, even if he comes off the bench, because I think his playing time last game was really just more a result of he made none of his shots from the field and they just couldn't keep playing him. So if he does come off the bench, do you think there's logic in playing him in tournaments just in case, like, hey, if this guy makes his shots, he's going to play the minutes that at the start of the year?
As long as he's not getting much ownership, then sure. I think we have him projected for like 8% right now, and that would be fine to me. I think that you're talking about a pretty wide range of outcomes in his minutes, but that's perfectly fine in tournaments at 5,200. And like when you look at the rotations last game, yeah, he only played 20 minutes, but he didn't close either half. And obviously that's a negative in terms of his playing time last game, but it also suggests that there are minutes available for him. Like Moses Moody does not have to close the first or second half. That could very easily be Jordan Poole. Same can be said for, Peyton or Looney or whatever. Damian Lee closed the game. I mean, there's certainly minutes available if Poole's playing well.
All right, that is going to do it for us. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If anything changes, leave a question below in the comment section.